Get ready for a lengthy video. There's a lot of things to discuss today and you guys gonna love it. But before that, a quick word from our sponsor. And today's video sponsor is Hookies. I love this name, Hookies. It sounds great, right? Hookies is one of my top choices when I want to go ahead and buy one of the latest titles of any games, PC games, Origin, Steam. They even have PlayStation games. Or if I want to go ahead and buy some of the software, they have genuine Windows Professional and Home keys, also some software packages, of course, Microsoft Office 2019 and other versions. So excellent choice to go ahead and get yourself a key on a great deal. Use my promo code HWS for 20% off any game or any other software you see on their website and you want to buy. Again, this is HWS for 20% off. That is it. Hey guys, welcome back to How Says channel. My name is Ivan and today we are looking at this computer case which was provided to me from my friends of Banggood. I was really interested in this one. I wanted to check it out because it reminds me of a lot of other popular cases that are on the market, but the price is slightly lower. And I was wondering, for that price, are they going to be closer to those name brands, or there's gonna be a lot of things that we're gonna have to put them down for. But today we're gonna have a lengthy discussion and talk about this Gamekm Robin 3. Kind of long name, so I'm just gonna call it the Robin 3 or Gamekm, whatever comes to my mind faster. But there's a lot of things to talk about this case. There's definitely a lot of good features. There's some missteps, and obviously at the end we're gonna summarize, but I'm gonna go deep as always and show you some of the things that I'm really interested in. And if you're interested in getting this case, some of the things you need to pay attention for and kind of make up your mind if this is a case that fits your future build or your profile or what you're expecting to see in a case. Now I have a few things that I always look into when I'm planning to buy a new case or planning a new build, and one of the major things is space and enough air inside. This is the two more key features for me. I really don't care that much about the looks, the overall presentation, or if it has enough RGB or any of that stuff. For me, number one is the space inside. I want to work comfortably putting motherboards inside and all the other hardware and not be cramped for space. I've done so many builds throughout the years, the last 25 years. I reached the conclusion that the most valuable thing for me is the space, followed very closely by air. So if the case is big enough and if it has a very good airflow, obviously it's going to be a winner since all the components inside will be staying nice and cool, and you're going to be performing with the temperatures low and obviously noise very low. So without further ado and me rambling more, I'm going to bring you close and we're going to go to the details of this case and see some of the things that I noticed right away. And of course we're going to do maybe a slight build and see how it looks with installed fans and stuff like that, and see if this is something you might be interested in. By the way, you right away kind of noticing that they have this light strip on the side, kind of a graphic with the logo of the company and the name. Looks nice. It's not really up in your face and it's not blinking, it's not doing any of that stuff, so kind of tasteful. And the front glass, which is right here, it's kind of a mirror finish, so you can actually see a lot of the reflections from the outside. But when we put some light source inside, kind of the mirror effects fades away, so it's not that obvious. But when the computer is turned off, you can definitely use it as a mirror. I mean, look at it. You can see everything that it's being reflected on it. So yeah, let's go ahead and check out some of the internals. I'm gonna do a quick overview around the case and some of the things I noticed right away, and then we're gonna go deeper in the main chamber and then the back of the case, because this is kind of a dual chamber setup, very popular, that became in the last couple of years. A lot of big names out there in the case world are producing similar cases, which all started kind of like from llla, I believe. But anyway, we're gonna talk about that later, and for now let's check out some of the details. I will get in close right away. So we're gonna start from the front, and you can see the graphic starting from the top of the case all the way down with the Gamekm logo in the bottom. We have the feet, which are not that tall. I think it's about 1.5 centimeters, not even 2 centimeters. And unfortunately they're not metal, they're just plastic wrapped around metallic foil looking like. The glass in front has a little ornament. You'll see right here, like steps. This is on the right side. It looks kind of nice. I put a light in behind because it's way too reflective as a mirror, so you can at least see how it looks. And on top of the case, we have the power button, the reset button, the microphone and headphone jack, 2 USB 2 ports and 1 USB 3 ports. Now that's my first gripe right here. I would rather have all USB 3s or 2 USB 3s and 1 USB 2. I'm not sure why they chose to have that, because at this day and age we are using USB 3 more often. And here are the perforations on the top where you can install an exhaust fans or radiator, and I'm going to show you the clearance inside. But up to 360 millimeter radiator can be installed on top, 240, but no 280s. There's no room for 14 centimeter fans. There's only 12 centimeter fans on top, 3 of them. And let me swing around so you can see some of the side panel. Now on the side panel, starting from the bottom, kind of a right corner, these are the perforations for your power supply. So if you install a power supply right here, keep in mind it always has to be facing this way with this fan, so kind of draw some cool air and cool it off. And you see the cables that are coming for the motherboard. One of the oddest things, and I don't know why these manufacturers are continuing to do something like this, there's a Molex powering the LED strip in the front. I don't know, in 2021 I think this is extremely cheap. Don't do this. Just put us a SATA connector and get rid of these Molexes. I'm not sure why these manufacturers are doing it. I mean, actually I am sure they're doing it because cost cutting, and it's cheaper to do Molex, but it looks cheap. If you are charging $120 for this case, better have the proper connectors. So we have the connectors for the audio and for the USB 2s right here. We have that single connector for the USB 3, which makes it easier to route, but at the same time I'd rather have more USB 3s. And then we have the power hard drive LED, and we have the reset button right here. All these 3 cables will go to your motherboard. So that's all the cables that are coming from the back. And if I rotate the case around, you're gonna see now the back side of the case. You can remove it by simply unscrewing these thumb screws. Nice and easy. They're big screws covered with plastic. It's not rubber, kind of a plastic around it. So not bad at all. Same on both bottom and top side, and the side panel just pops off. You'll see right away we have ample amount of room. Actually, we have this middle bracket that will house our hard drives or SSD drives if we want to install those. And with that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rubber grommets. So for installing hard drives, you just screw it on and pop these over here. This is removable, by the way. You'll see the screws on top right here. So these screws can be unscrewed, and this whole bracket comes off, which I will do right away and show you how it's done. So you gotta tilt it a little bit, kind of sideways, in order for you to pull it out of the frame. And this is how it looks, the back side, where you can put the hard drives or the SSD drives and just screw it back on. But for now, I'm just gonna take it away so we can see better inside the case. And right away, what do we have? Just the bag full with all of our screws. No box provided or anything like that, unfortunately. Held here by a twist tie, so we'll take it away, and we have inside all of our screws needed for the motherboard and the drives if we want to install them. We'll take that to the side. So now you will see the room we have here in the back side. We have all the 3 rubber grommets right here where the cables will come from the power supply, and this is the room right here and the perforations for that additional 3 120 millimeter fans. Now, considering these cables are kind of in the way for the power strip in the front, I don't think you are easily going to be installing any 120 millimeter fans right here. Even if you tuck these all the way up, I still think it's going to be extremely hard to populate that top 128 millimeter fan. So maybe let me see. So yeah, like I thought, it's going to be hard to populate that location right here. But the good news is that if you have one of those or some of those fans kind of frameless, similar to these Cool Moon ones I have right here, that only have these corner attachments, that will be easier. That way you can kind of route the cables around the fan and don't worry about the frame pushing on them. Same goes to the power and the reset button on the top. Those cables can be routed kind of like on top of the fan, so that way you can populate all three locations for these intake fans. And you will see what the clearance is. So if you want to put them behind the motherboard tray, you have about an inch to the back of this panel, but if it's all perforated, they're still going to be having a lot of air coming in, so they're not going to be completely choked. And of course, the other option is just take that fan, put it all the way inside. So just take the fan and channel it on the inside, so it's going to be right here. That way you're going to have plenty of clearance in the back for those fans to breathe, and at the same time you're not going to interfere with the cables. But it doesn't look as clean, I guess, in my opinion. But again, to each of their own. I think it's fine. It might obstruct some of the cables coming from the motherboard because of the perforations, and these rubber grommets are very close. So let's say if you have this fan over here and you're routing a 24-pin cable through here, it's going to interfere probably with this fan. But let's test that out. I'm actually going to install a power supply in the bottom so we can see how it's going to look and if it's going to have enough clearance. But again, that's what I'm looking for, space. By the way, you know, we have full ATX support, we have micro ATX and mini ATX support on this side. You'll see motherboards can extend up to here. Some more wider one ATX motherboards might overhang a little bit, which is not gonna look too pretty, of course. And on the bottom, having all these perforations is kind of nice because you get some passive air coming in. Personally, I would not install any fans here to pull air inside because this is non-filtered, and especially if you put this case on the ground, it's gonna suck up all the dust from the carpet or whatever floor is. Dust accumulates on the floor and it's gonna get sucked up and distributed inside the case, so I really don't like that. I'm not a huge fan of putting fans on the bottom of the cases just because of that reason. And being filtered on the outside, I think it's gonna be plenty. If you have 3 fans pushing air in, 1 exhausting over here, and you have 2 or 3 more for your radiator on top, I think it's going to be having a plenty of air coming in and exhausting. So this can kind of stay passively here open, but you'll see the motherboard will be up to here, so there's clearance to have fans if you really want them, and maybe some thinner radiators here as well. Again, the clearance is about 1.5 inches down in the bottom. I personally would not put a radiator down here, but that's just me. Yeah, let's install some of the components I'm talking about and see how it's gonna look. So now that I have the power supply installed in the back, you see how much room there is. Extra cables can be nicely tucked kind of behind over here. This is gonna be not only convenient to put all those cables you don't need here, but you can actually cover them with that side bracket as well. So if we're routing the 24-pin cable, this is going to be through here, let's say, and obviously we're going to have a CPU cable which is going to be routed through the hole on the top. Now the cutout over here on the top, I wish they made it a little bit bigger because it's not convenient to route that CPU cable through. You will see it hits the plastic housing of the cable. Maybe if you have a slimmer power supply cable right here, it will go through, but for me, just 2 or 3 millimeters more of a cutout would have worked perfectly. Otherwise, you're gonna have to route it here through the rubber grommet, which is also an option, but it's not ideal since it's going to be in the middle of the motherboard and not off to the side. Again, that depends on where the extra CPU power is located on your motherboard, but normally it's kind of like off to the side. We're gonna have to probably DIY something ourselves to be able to put it in here through this cutout. And then for the rest of them, you know, we're gonna have cables for our graphics cards, which again can be routed here through the rubber grommet, and that's pretty much it. Nothing else I'm routing in the front. One thing to notice right away is I put my VGA cable through and my 24-pin. This rubber grommet gets pushed almost immediately inside, so it's not too tight, which I don't like. It will be kind of a pain if you're routing these cables, and you'll see now it's completely crooked. You're gonna have to reposition it. Not very tight over here, and those grommets are kind of a loose around, so you got to be careful when you're routing your cables in order for you to have a nice and good looking build. But the amount of space behind the motherboard is definitely ample. For the power supply, we have probably another half an inch under it, so maybe some of those cables you don't need if you don't have a modular or a partially modular power supply. You can kind of fold in and put underneath over here. That way they're completely out of the way and kind of hidden, so to get a little bit more clear build right here. Plenty of tie points here on the back. You will see we have 1, 2 on top, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for zip ties, so 8 tight points for zip ties, which is very good to see. We're gonna be able to do a good routing of those cables, keep them nice and tight. And right here, a lot of space. I don't know what you can populate it with. Obviously, if you have a bunch of cables, you can all tuck them in here and don't worry about it. The PCB is kind of exposed here for these buttons on the top. I'm not too worried about that, honestly. And the buttons themselves are not the highest quality buttons, but they're still pretty functional, kind of on par of more budget-friendly cases, I guess, which this one is not because it's $120. Now, this is a 750 watt power supply here I installed from Enermax, the Marble Bronze 750, partially modular power supply with the most important cables already attached to it, 24-pin CPU and VGA, and we have I installed this extra one so I can put the Molex and turn on that light strip. Again, big gripe for me is seeing Molexes on cases that are 2021 model. That should not be here. Now again, going back to these fan situations, if you want to put that fan in the back, you can do it, but keep in mind the airflow is not going to be optimal because these perforations will be restricting a lot of the air coming inside the case, and you potentially might have clearance issues with these top cables unless you have some of those frameless fans that might work. And let me rotate the case around. I'm going to route this 24 pin again on the other side so you can kind of see some things that I wanted to show you. All right, now if we look at on this side of the case where all the cables are, the main chamber, the 24 pin most likely is going to be like this here. If you route it through this middle channel, you're going to have to lift it up a little bit more. And depending on your motherboard, most motherboards will have the 24 pin pointing up. And if you have this in and you have a fan as well that is pulling air inside, it will be a slight interference. You will see how non-frameless fans help a lot because it's not gonna completely block that cable. You can install it and still move it up and down. You're gonna have some airflow coming in with no problem that way. So not completely blocked. Another benefit for me to mention that these brackets here are not those that you break off and throw away, which are completely super cheap, but these are actually on screws and they're perforated. So once you install your graphics card or other expansion cards on your motherboard and then reinstall them later, so that's a good option. Good to see that it's not done cheaply for with those brackets that are you know, meant to be broken off. Nice cutout right here because some new motherboards have the I/O shield plate already pre-installed and they might interfere with the motherboard. That kind of clears that problem. The cutout in the back is not the biggest, but still plenty if you want to swap heat sinks for some reason. But personally, I don't use heat sinks on the custom builds. I always use AIOs for silence, a better look, at least to me it looks a lot better. Other thing to mention here, clearance from the top of the brackets to the side of the motherboard is about 5 centimeters, so 2 inches. Keep that in mind if you're installing taller graphics cards. That clearance is important. So if your graphics card is extending higher, way higher above these brackets, you got to measure that and make sure that it's going to fit. But 5 centimeters or 2.5 inches, I think it's plenty. The graphics card I'm using normally are the ones that are slightly elevated or maybe flush with that, so it's not going to be a problem. There's going to be plenty of clearance right here. On their website, Gamekm, are showing pictures of this motherboard with graphics card horizontally. We're going to have to buy a separate accessories because it's not included. There's no brackets or anything included in the case that will help you install it that way. Metal wise, it's not the thinnest, but it's not the thickest metal as well. You'll see it flexes a little bit if I put some force on top of it. The motherboard tray is pretty steady though. I'm kind of rocking it back and forward and barely gives away. It's indicating a good quality. I like that. Look at the plastic, kind of a fingerprint magnet in the front, so you gotta have to wipe that to make it clean. And overall, the light strip cover here with the logo on the side doesn't look the highest quality plastic. It's a bit more of a on the cheap side. That's not a problem for me personally. I think it looks fine. Yeah, what else we can say about this case? I think I really like the space, and some of the engineering behind it's pretty convenient, including rubber grommets. That's a nice touch. Not the best ones, granted, but still okay, I guess. Another thing to notice right away is not enough standoffs for motherboard. It's not even included in the package, and not seeing anything. Just one more. There's only one more included, and as far as I know, the ATX motherboards take 9 of them. So I don't know why they skimped on not giving us enough, but we have only 7 here. Yeah, that's not a good touch. I would rather have all of them. That's not good. Some cutouts here on the bottom to route some more cables if we need. I wish these were at least 2 right here, or maybe a bigger one, because if you have things that you can plug in on this front of the motherboard or right here in the back, it's gonna look awkward when you run these cables on diagonal. I'd rather have them just come in and straight in, It looks a lot tidier. You know, obviously if you have something on the bottom here, you can probably run it through this grommet and route it around. Again, doesn't look as clean as it should be. Yeah, I think if they put 3 of the same size right here, it would have been a lot better. Another gripe is with that top one. That should have been a little bit wider. That way I can route my CPU cable through here with no issues. And then the side window. If you talk side window, it comes with these rubber isolators. So it's one of those windows, tempered glass windows that you just put in and then you screw. It's not sliding. It's not anything nicer like that. That it's more expensive from some companies. This is how the window looks like. It's a bit of a mirror finish. It has black trim around it. So if you put it like this and tied up the screws are actually nice. They're big metal screws, wide, good enough to kind of grip and tight inside, so no problem whatsoever there. Yeah, I'm intrigued. For the price, $120, I think they could have gone a little bit lower, maybe around $100. That case would have been a lot more easy to recommend. For $120, I think it's a bit much. That's a nice touch right here. That's one of the things I noticed. Let me show it to you real quick. You'll see that little clip. If you have cables coming inside, you can kind of clip them in to route them. Don't let them dangle around. That's a nice touch again. Nice clean look in the back with the power supply attached and mounted. So there's plenty of perforations, plenty of air. But we'll see how it's gonna look. And I mean, again, consider this is a $120 case that doesn't come with any fans. So if you're planning a build in here, you're gonna have to buy your own fans and install them, because you will need, you know, if you have a radiator, already comes with the fans. But if you need intake and exhaust, you're gonna need 3 right here, or 2 to intake, and you will need 1 for the backside to exhaust. So at least 3 fans you're gonna need to kind of achieve some good airflow and some ventilation. And again, this Molex really, guys, needs to go. It has to be a SATA and not a Molex. The reset button on the top is dual purpose. So you'll see there's 2 cables running into it. One goes over here. So you can either use it as a reset button by unplugging from here and putting it to your motherboard. I will be interested to see how it's going to look with everything installed. So you're gonna see it on some of my future videos with the full installation, motherboard inside, graphics card and everything else. You see the space between the back of the case and all the way to the front where you can install graphics cards. The total distance actually from the glass to the back is 41 centimeters. And then from the graphics card, yeah, I would say the maximum probably do 38. 38 centimeters, yeah. I'll feel comfortable to have 38 centimeter graphic cards, but normally I think was the latest ones I have, it's about 30 or 29 centimeters. So this is how it's gonna look when you install it. You're gonna have at least you know, another 6, 7, 8 centimeters towards the front to the glass. With the amount of air coming in on the side here with 3 fans, the GPU will be getting a lot of air. But yeah, again, we're gonna test that with a full build and see how it's gonna perform. So yeah, that's pretty much it for now. Thanks to my friends over at banggood.com. They sent me this case for review and show it to you guys. I'm intrigued. I'm interested to see if the clearance is going to be enough for 360 and it's not going to interfere with the top fan over on this side. So if you have the fan mounted here, even to the lowest position, yeah, you might actually have room to put the radiator and the other fan without interfering. But again, I'm going to test that and see, make sure that it's really working without any problems in this particular situation. So yeah, let's move on to the conclusion. Wow, that was a lengthy video, and congratulations if you made it to the end. This one took me a long time, hence you see change of the outfit. Within a couple of days I had to do all the details and cover everything possible. But ultimately you guys saw plenty of details about this case, and I'm gonna show you a little bit more in a further video when I'm gonna do a complete build. But just real quick to abbreviate and mention the things I really liked about this case. And the first and foremost is the space. There's plenty of room inside to work and route cables, put hardware. You're not gonna be stranded with tiny spaces here and there. And the other one is potential good airflow. And I'm saying potential because I haven't measured it, I haven't seen the temperatures, but just looking at the engineering of this case and see how many perforations are all around the backside, the top, the bottom, the side panels, I am thinking that it's going to be plenty. So you guys see I've already installed my fans, my intake fans. So I'm going to have 3 intake fans on the side that are going to be pulling air in, and there's 1 exhaust on the back, and of course we're going to have the all-in-one water cooler mounted on top, also exhausting hot air. So we're going to check and see how it's going to look. But so far I'm pretty impressed. I really like this case. The only thing I don't like really is that Molex for the LED strip, and the other thing is the price. I think for $120 there are a massive amount of cases from a ton of well-known brands on the market that you can get and make a perfect and beautiful build. So there's a stiff competition around that price range. So $120, I think it's a little bit higher. If this case was maybe a little under $100, it would be easy recommendation from my side because of all the features that is offering. But at $120, again, there's plenty of competition. So hopefully this case is going to wow me with its performance once I install all the hardware inside and run some tests and show it to you guys. Otherwise, for $120, you can think about it and maybe get it or get some other options. But another good plus to mention here is this one is offered in 3 different colors, which is the black one, white one, and they also have a pink one, which a lot of those other manufacturers don't have. They either produce only 1 color or maximum 2. So if you're looking to build something more different and unique to kind of suit your personality, that could be a good option. So yeah, this is pretty much it for now. If you want to support this channel directly, check out the link in the description below. Hit the thumbs up if you like the video. Stay tuned to the channel for more reviews like this in the future. I have a couple very interesting laptops that just came into the channel. You guys are gonna love these, and some very interesting peripherals as well. And as always, guys, you have a wonderful day.